Hello everyone, Ceri the Crafter here, that's C-E-R-I the Crafter, and I'm here with kind of a repeat video, to be honest with you. In my last video, which was a couple of days ago, I needed to work on my stencil storage by creating these strips, and I created 6 12 by 12s, which I've cut into strips and have put down here. As you can see, I've been working on these. However, I've got to the point where I've run out of strips. I thought making 6 of them was going to be enough. Well, guess what? It wasn't. I haven't even done the smaller stencils in smaller pockets on the opposite pages yet. So I thought, right, let's just get on with this and do the same as I did before with different colours and patterns, of course. So I pulled out 6 of the 12 by 12s from that pad that I bought. If you haven't seen the other video, by the way, there will be a link to it in the description box. What was it? I think it says something like Gel Plate Play 6 backgrounds, and I think this one will be something like Gel Plate Play 6 more backgrounds. Yeah, not being overly imaginative, but you know what I mean. So I'm going to work on this side, and I'm going to try and lean towards coloured paints that I didn't use in the first one, and potentially lean into other mark making tools and stuff. Basically, I just need more prints. So I'm just going to get on. I've got my 12 by 12 gel press, my 5 by 7 gel press. I've got a 4-inch speedball brayer, which is feeling a bit slow today. Is it getting clogged up some? Maybe it's due for a good old clean. And we're just going to make a start. Right, I'm going to bring in, I'm not really going to tell you the colours, but if you see them on screen, you see them. What's important to me is that you don't think you have to go out and buy exactly the same colours I've got to do what I'm doing. I would say, and I always say, please use what you've got, make the best of what you've got, and that's all that's really important. If you want exactly the same colour combinations, make a note of them and then go from there. I mean, as I said, I'm not really going to give you colours, but if you want, say, a green and a blue and a yellow, just make a rough note of the colour combinations and see what you come up with. Now, as I say, every time I use my 12 by 12, it's an old 12 by 12 plate. And it's seen several years of action, and it's no longer exactly true to square. So that's why I end up with bits of edges that are white. They will over time disappear because, of course, I will put other paints and other colours on them. But I think I might have to treat myself to a new 12 by 12 for Christmas. I mean, having 2 by 12s is twice as good as having one. Right, so I don't want that stuck on there. What are you? So basically, I'm just starting by getting colour down. Behind me on the floor is an old shower curtain to protect my carpet and just pop these down. Right, that's another one. Oh, it's stuck a bit. I'm just going to put it straight on here at this point. I think it should be okay. As I said, I'm going to try and do different colours than I did the first time, but I know I'm drawn to certain colours, so I may not be able to avoid colours it did last time totally, but I'll do the best I can to avoid what I can. But that's one thing I like about working as an artist, is I'm not here to repeat the same thing twice, but if it happens to repeat, it happens to repeat. If it happens to repeat, it's repeating for a reason. I may not be aware what that reason is, but maybe it's just what I like to work with. Right, I believe when I did the last one, I didn't really do a lot of purple. In fact, I don't think I did any purple. I might have used it as a highlight or something, but I don't remember using purple. And in fact, I think I did use, and I think at the time I mentioned I don't use purple very often. So this seems like a good enough reason to use purple for me. And thank you for the comments from the last video. Yes, it was nice to get back to the gel plate. That seems very, very wet. That is very wet. Let's just see if I just spray that a bit smoother. I don't mind if I get paint on either side. It's not going to hurt me. That can come off there. It's a very, very warm day here in Wales. We're kind of starting, I think the weather people said we're in for a small heat wave. And I don't pay attention to their predictions normally because my idea of finding what the weather is, I open the curtains in the morning and judge for myself. Because the amount of times I've made plans based on what the weather app or the weatherman has said, and it's been complete and utter rubbish. But you know what? It's not an exact science. They've got better than they have over the years, I can tell you. That's interesting. Clear off the brayer a bit on there. Oh. Yeah, I went out for a walk this morning. I try and do, in fact, I just did a post about half an hour ago on Facebook where I was sharing that since, what month we were in August, since the beginning of July, I've been trying to do 10 to 15,000 steps per day, purely because I was finding I don't leave the house and I'm certainly not doing as much exercise as I used to, and I'm not a fitness person, I must admit. I like to be healthy, but fitness and healthy don't always go hand in hand in my mind. What I was thinking is, if this is the summer and I'm not walking or going out, then to be honest with you, it's going to be a big problem in the winter. So what I've done is, I don't want to say I have rules because it depends on my workload and how I'm feeling on the day. However, if it's a good day, a nice day, a dry day, I will try and do a walk for maybe 10,000 to 15,000 steps. If it's not a nice day, I've got a treadmill now, so I will do it in the house instead. And one of the reasons I actually decided to go with the treadmill, which, believe me, I understand a lot of people said, oh, it's going to become a clothes horse, you can have clothes drying on it, it'll end up in the corner dusty. Actually, I would be very much surprised if I did, because a treadmill is an investment for a start, and it's an investment in my health, so I'm not likely to ignore it. And the other reason I like a treadmill over walking outside is I live in the middle of a big city. So wherever I walk, I'm breathing in car pollution and fumes. However, if I'm walking in my own house on the treadmill, I'm not. Also, another thing, so lots of alsos in this. I don't like to do pointless things. Like if I'm going to walk for an hour, I need to actually have a destination or reason for walking. I can't just go and wander for an hour. That would just be, that would be detrimental to my mental state, I think, if I just walked with no purpose. Right, so that's so the reason I like the treadmill is it's got a thing on the front so that I can prop my iPad up. So every morning I usually get up, have breakfast, have a cup of tea, and then I usually catch up on maybe a couple of my friends who I've subscribed to. If they've released videos in America while I've been asleep, I watch them. So now I can spend an hour on the treadmill and watch a video or two, and I don't feel that's wasted time. So it's good. It's good for me and my mental health. Right, this is that, I believe it was fern green. I'm going to use this colour, which is mint. I'm just going to pick it up on the brayer and skip it, as in just put it into areas. That's okay, I can live with that. There's enough there for another one. I just need to choose which other one it's going to be. I think I want to put it on the pink one. So as soon as I pick up this, it won't be a lot, because there's not a lot left on here. Actually, if I pick this up, I might be able to pick that up off there. Just layers of interest, people, just layers of interest. There you go, that's giving me a little something. Right, let's have a look at the yellow one. Now, I can either go complementary or I can go way off piste and do something very unexpected. I think I'm going to go very unexpected and use turquoise. How's that for living on the edge, people? Living on the, oh, it might be a little bit more. I might be able to do 2 as I did the last one. Again, load up my brayer. That's okay, I'm okay with that. Goodness knows what's going to end up where on here. And the one that was brown, I think this will look nice on there. It'll almost look like this is rust with patina on it. The one that had the mint on it, I'm just going to pick up areas of this green, because remember, I'm going to cut this into strips. So it's not like it's going to be one big piece. That's interesting. The 2 I've got left are the purple and the pink. We did put something on the pink already, but I think I want something different as well. So I think we're going to use this magenta. I'm never quite sure whether I like magenta. It's one of those colours, I think it's down to what you put it on as to whether I like it. Because the colour it's on can very often dictate whether it's more of a reddish colour or more of a bluish colour. I don't know, I struggle with this colour sometimes. It's one of those that doesn't always feel natural for me. And I was going to do purple on this, but I might actually just use the remainder of this magenta on here. I'm going to have to be careful that I don't go dark. I do have a tendency to sometimes slip into the dark side. Okay, right. I think I'm going to use my technique where I use parchment paper. This is just baking parchment. It comes on a roll kits for round cakes when you bake them. So, right. Put this back on the plate. So I'm putting them on the plate, guys, because it's an easier way for them to be held in place. I'm just going to brayer that out. I'm going to lay down my bit of paper, pick up some, and then just rub it on. And it just gives me another visual effect. Anyone who's seen me work before, I do this very, very often. It's a technique I really quite like. I like the fact that I'm not brayering it on a press it, and I get all of this lovely visual whatnot. There you go, that's enough. That's enough for that one anyway. Oh. So what else is going on in my life? I don't really know. There's just lots going on in my life at the moment. I'm doing quite a bit of designing at the moment. And I'm one of those people that it's good to design when the muse hits me. And I think most people who design, that's kind of how you have to be. If you have an idea, well, first of all, if I have an idea for a product or a design, I immediately write it down. I've got a little book within my planner, and I deal with it by writing it down, or if I've got my iPad near me, I design in Adobe Illustrator, the app. So what I do is I will go into the app and I'll open up a new artboard, which is what they call like a canvas, and I will do a quick squiggle on it just to remind me of the shape, and I'll give that artboard a title. So then I know exactly what I was thinking of, and it's just enough to remind me, and then when I do get back to it, it's there. I've not lost it, because my brain keeps churning stuff out at an alarming rate, and I can assure you I don't remember half of it. Probably don't even remember a sixth of it. See, now I said I didn't like magenta, but I really like this. Isn't that weird? Right. Something I am doing, and I sort of subconsciously do this, is where there's lines like, well, you saw me cover up one there, I tend to focus on covering up straight lines, although I love straight lines. But I don't want lines directly in the middle of my piece of art. A little bit up there. Again, remember, this is going to be cut into thirds. It may even be cut into thirds and then each third cut in half, because for my smaller stencils or the strip stencils, I only need a small pocket to tuck them in. Right, this one, I'm not going to do the paper thing. I'm actually going to just brayer some white onto it, because I want a little more drama than I think what the paper is going to give me. That'll do. Okay, on to the last two. Right, now what I'm looking here, just so you know, is areas that I think are flat. Like that's got interest, but this area is flat. So that's sort of where I would be thinking that will lighten it up. It will just, as another flat piece here. And by flat, I just mean that it doesn't have any redeeming factors to it. It's not got any visual texture. It needs something. A little bit down here would be nice. Do you see what I mean? It's just changed the character of that. Okay, last one. Right, I don't really want to put any more white out, so let's hopefully I've got enough here. Right, so there's a line right down there. I don't mind the colour change. I don't really want that line. Also, I don't like that as a repeat, so I'm going to come in and eliminate one of them. And these, I mean, I'm not trying to give you instructions on how to do this. I'm just trying to give you the reasoning why I do it. Because I know some of you really ask for that and want that. It's just what it is, guys. It's just the way my brain thinks. I really want to put a piece there. Let's see if I can just take up something off there. That'll do. Actually, I'm just going to put a bit on that side. Okay, I'm back, and I've had a kind of bit of a change of heart, to be honest with you. I'm going to use this, which is like, I call it plastic Ada, but it's for, like in the 70s and 80s, they used to use this and use wool to do almost cross-stitch, and you could make like Kleenex boxes and handbags and stuff. It's still out there. It's still in craft stores, and there are still some people who use it for that, but I think it makes a great mark making tool, and we all like a grid. Now I'm going to use terracotta, and I'm going to use the same color for every single one of these pieces. I think it will work on every color we've got, and it's not going to be a lot. It's just going to be a bit. So, we need to brayer it out first, so Griffiths. So I'm just going to brayer it out, and I'm going to pick it up with the grid. And I'm just going to pop it down in a couple of areas. because remember, we're cutting this up into 3s or 6s. See what I mean? It just kind of unifies this. I might not actually use stencils on this, thinking about it. Let's put this one in. I might just use stamps today, I think. There we go, that unifies that. Now, I did say it in my last video, and I think it's probably worth saying again in this one. People think I work very quickly, and that's actually an intentional thing on my behalf, because I can be notorious for procrastinating and not making a decision or not making a start on something. And by moving quickly, it sort of takes that element away from me. I have to make a decision, and I have to make it now. And that's how I can produce, like, I think the last video I did, I produced 6 of these in 45 minutes. And if you take away my gossiping in between, that's probably about 35 minutes. So yes, so that's why I work quickly. Also, I find that if I mass make, and by mass make I mean this, I do more than one of thing at a time. Like if I was doing journal cards or journal tags, I would make, say, 10 or 12 journal tags instead of just making one journal tag. And I work like that just for exactly the same reason. It just helps me cope, because I can, if I start to dither about, oh, have I made the right decision? Is this the right one? All of a sudden, my doubt starts kicking in, and then I end up with something I really hate, and then I usually throw it away. Or I put a big coating of white gesso over the top and start all over again. Not healthy to be doing that all the time. So this just helps me. That's what I'm trying to get at. I like to mass make. Bit in there. And on to the last one. That wasn't exactly the straightest thing in the world, but we'll live, and so will it. Right. So I'm back, and I thought, instead of reaching for foam stamps, I'm going to just grab a selection of mark making tools from my box of mark making tools. Just stuff I'd either found around, which are tape holders. This is an Nescafe coffee lid. These are made in a video. Actually, I might actually put this, what was it called? Something like free mark making tools, I think is how I used. I can't remember which one I made, but I made these in one of those videos. Did I make that one into it? I don't think I made that in the video. I think I made these in the video. And this is just corks, which I've stuck with some hot glue, probably an excessive amount of hot glue onto that. So we're just going to work one at a time. So I'm not going to use black just yet. Black will be a colour I use, probably as my last colour. So, as you can hear, that's a fluid. And that's why I'm not a fan of fluids, because they usually spit. Now I don't mind that there's dots on there. And if I take those dots and move them around, then they don't look like an accident. They look like something was meant to be in the bigger picture of things. There you go. That's a problem solved right there. So I just need to bray this out a bit. And I think I'm going to come in first of all with this. Now, this doesn't give me a perfect impression, which is absolutely fine with me. And it might go in nicely with the dots that accidentally ended up on here. It's almost a floral shape. Do I want anything else on there? Maybe one or two of the big rounds, or at least part of a big round. I feel this needs some yellow on it somewhere. I'll come back to that in a minute. I might use my sketchy dots on that one. Right, now this one is purple, obviously, so I'm just going to use up this and put some purple into it, just in square rounds. Remembering that we are coming back in afterwards and cutting this into smaller pieces. So I'm not looking for one coherent design. I'm looking for elements, not elephants, but elements. Sorry, it's sort of a, every time someone says elements, I always think they say elephants. It's just, it's the way I hear things, I think. That's that one. I think for this one, I'm going to use some metallics. I didn't use metallics on the last one. Not that you have to use metallics, but I quite like metallics. So spray that out a bit and see if I can just pick up something. This is quite a delicate pattern, which I actually think is a good thing. Now, the only tricky thing about using something like this is it picks up paint. I don't know if you can see it. It sort of leaves it slightly raised, which means it'll take longer to dry. So what I like to do is I come in with a cleanup sheet, put it directly over the top and just give it a good wipe. And what that will do, it will just lift off all of the excess that's on there and flatten down. And I don't mind excess being on this. In fact, some of that looks rather pretty and might go on here as well. Cleanup sheets for me usually end up as pages in my bigger art journals. That's really nice. I'm liking that. Now, I do have gold on my brayer. And I think what I want to do is this one here, I'd like to put some gold into it. Just what's on the brayer, basically. And actually, you know what, I think that's probably that one finished. I think that might be finished. Right, let's go on to this one. I think this one needs orange. Now, what colour the orange is going to end up, I don't know, because obviously I've got a mucky plate over here with gold on it already, but I think we should be all right. Right, I'm going to come in with now, I do have a foam stamp which is called Grungy Circles. So if you really like grungy circles, I've got it in two sizes. It was based on a stamp on a mark making tool that I ended up altering at subscribers' requests and making into a design. So you'll see that in action in the first video. I think this one, it's got grits on it. This could do with some orange on it, just to give it a little more something. Well, that something is, goodness knows, but I think that will do. This being the brown one, which didn't get anything. And I actually don't mind if I put a little bit of orange on this one as well. So I wonder, I might do it with my bit of paper. That'll do. And I'm back. So the stamps I pulled out is I pulled out Grungy Lines. It's one of my newer ones. I will say these are called Sketchy Circles, and this is Numbers Block, Outline Numbers Block Solid. I launched these last month and I absolutely adore these. So I'm going to use a combination of these all in black on each of the prints. So bear with me just while I finish these off, and then I can have a good old clean up and we can take a bit of a closer look. I'm just using Mars Black because that's the colour I like to use for this. Now, when I press down on the stamp, I press in the middle because if this is the stamp, when it's hit by a laser, sometimes it curves up in the middle, which is sometimes, say you've got, say this one, you might find the middle doesn't pick up as much. Just press in the middle. I mean, you don't need to pound it into the pavement, but do you know what I mean? Just use your own judgment. But I find that by pressing into the middle, it just gives me that little bit extra something. I'd like that to have been straight, but there you go. I'd like to have a winning lottery numbers as well. And that's another thing, and that's not going to happen because I don't do the lottery. Funny that. Right, do I want anything else on here? I think I want a couple of the little circles, just because they're subtle. Yep, you heard it here, folks. I want to do subtle. And I think there and there. Right, you are finished, young lady. Why it's a young lady, I don't know. It just happens to be what it is. Now, this one I said was finished. And I do think it's almost finished. What I want is lots of stuff on here is really heavy. So this is one of the main reasons I pulled this out, as I wanted to be able to put in just little patches of fine detail, just to push everything into the background just a little further. I think that's enough of that. As I said, I'll take a really good look at these once they're all finished, and I've had a chance to dry them a bit. Have I got enough paints drying on me? So because there's not a huge amount going on this one, I'm going to use a Numbers Block Solid. I don't mind if I don't get a perfect impression, but I quite like what I get. And this is quite a sedate looking background, but when you consider everything else that I've got on the go in this isn't an art journal, it isn't a showpiece, this is literally storage for my stencils. So I think that'll do for that. So I'll put a couple of these in there as well. How can you tell this is one of my favourite stamps? Because it is. This and Sketchy Dots is another one that's a favourite of mine. And I keep avoiding that, don't I? So let's just put one in there to start with. Right, I think you're finished with. Right, now this one is fairly busy. So I'm going to use the Numbers Block outline on this one, because otherwise I think it would look too heavy. The reason I actually designed these, it's always an interesting story. Every year, last year and this year, I run a month-long challenge. Last year, or this year, it was called #Mixed March. The year before it was Gely, Gely, postcard play. Those are hashtags, by the way. You can search what was done in those. And part of the criteria for that challenge, it's a fun activity. There's no prizes, there's no competition. It's literally, let's just play. one of the criteria is you have to have a number on each of your items. So there's 31 days in the month, it goes from 1 to 31. Each of your items has to have a number on them, and the number represents the date. So every year I've got a longer strip of these numbers, were all different sizes and turned, and I was stamping out those strips, then cutting or tearing the numbers out and using those. And all of a sudden, you know, one of those light bulb moments, I went, Ceri, why don't you just design one of these? So basically I designed these two because if I'm now doing any sort of challenge that needs a number on it, I mean, PM Artist Studio said, oh, we could use an individual numbers. I went, no, don't do that. Because if you made them individual numbers, I'll never line them up neatly like this. If I use them as a block, I get what you're seeing. But if I stamp these onto tissue, I can then cut them or tear them and make any number I want. So that's why they look like they do, guys. Right, where are we up to? Right. I think I just want some of these, and I'm going to go on diagonals, which, if you know me, that's a little bit disturbing. I'm not a diagonals person. But I think that's okay. And then what I'm going to do is really live on the edge, and I'm going to put diagonal lines on there as well. Not my favorite thing to do, but just because I don't do it normally doesn't mean I shouldn't do it. Mind you, it's funny, they're all pretty much at the right angle. I think that's okay for that one. Are we down to one more? I think we've just got one left to do. Right, which is this one. Now, I'm kind of okay with how this looks. I don't want the block numbers, and I think those are too heavy, so I'm down to these two. And I would quite like to put this into blank areas. And that may be all this needs. I'm not 100% certain at the moment. I did say I thought this needed yellow, and I think I'm right. I think it does. I think it does. Right, okay, bear with me. I have to pause you for 2 seconds because I need to clean the black up. Because if I don't clean the black up, I can't go to any other colour. And then we're going to come back with yellow, and I'm going to pull out, I think it's Sketchy Dots. I'll pull out and use that. Okay, I'm back, and here's Sketchy Dots. Probably one of my very, very, very favourite. I mean, it's hard to have a favourite when you've designed them all, but this one is, I love this stamp. In case I forgot to mention, which I think I did, if you look in the description box below, you'll see at the bottom of the description box, it will say Ceri Griffiths Designs at PM Artist Studio. If you click that, it will take you through to PM Artist Studio, which is where you can search any designs by any of the designers that are actually part of the design team. Above that, you will see Stencil Shop Quick View and Foam Stamp Shop Quick View. If you click either of those, it will take you through to my website where there's a visual library of all of my stencils and all of my foam stamps. If you click on any of those images, however, you will immediately get taken through to PM Artist Studio website, that exact product. And that's where you can find out more about the product, its dimensions, variations, all of that. And you also have the option to buy it at that point as well. Just needed to let you know that. So I'm going to use yellow because yellow is the complementary to purple. And for me, this is looking a bit dull at the moment. This is not a vibrant, in-your-face yellow. This is, again, I've used the word flat a lot today, but it is a flat colour in my opinion. So again, I pressed into the middle. Now I'm going to come across, I'm going to stamp across the darker pieces. And I'm doing that on purpose because the darker pieces will give me more contrast, and it will actually give me, it will make sense to the eye because it'll go, oh, it's a dark piece and he stamped over it. It will make sense to the viewer. And I think that will be okay. I can't say this is my absolute favourite. I may need to rethink this one a little bit. But let's take it off there and see if any of the others could do us in yellow. You know, call me controversial. I think this one would look really pretty with a bit of yellow in it. There you go. That was just what that one needed. It's a very, very busy background, Griffiths. But you know what? So what? I like it. Right, you can go. We're definitely finished you. And I think that's what I'm going to call done. Let's go back to this one a second. There's something about this that just isn't popping, should we say. Let me just have a think. And while I'm thinking, I'm going to stamp some of these onto this spare bit of book page. Right, yellow was the right colour, I think. I don't know what this needs. It needs something. Right, the opposite to purple is yellow or orange. I don't particularly want orange on here. It's going to be too powerful. It needs something to elevate this. I don't know what it is. I had to be very careful I don't become too busy with this. Right, be brave. It is just paper and paint. Okay, as I said, it's just paper and paint. So I'm going to take some magenta. This could be wrong, this could be right, this could be a disaster, this could be exactly what this wants. And I'm just using my paper method. I just want to come in and put something in this. See, that's kind of what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a lift. There's something about this that is just not working for me. And I think that might just be it. Was that it? My gut is now saying I need to put something really bold and white over the top of these. Right, bear with me. I'm going to turn the camera off for 2 seconds because I need to think about this. There's something about this that isn't working, and I'm not sure what it is. Okay, and I'm back. And I think I've worked out what it is about this print that isn't singing for me. And I think it's because everything is competing for attention. Like these circles are the same size almost as those. The terracotta is almost the same colour as the magenta. The white isn't white enough, and the circles are pushed too far into the background. Also, the scale of things, there's nothing that jumps out. So I'm going to bring in grungy circles. And I granted we've got circles upon circles upon circles, but I want bright white circles, and this should push all of that into the background. Now, as with everything, trial and error, guys. Oh, that's a lot of paint, Griffiths. Okay, I didn't mean to put that much paint out. It's me being overly enthusiastic. I'll use it for something though. Right, so I'm going to get enough paint on my stamp, and I'm going to look at areas like this area that looks really messy. See what I mean? All of a sudden it changes it. And I think the other thing I don't like this is the lilac in the background looks like a dirty grey colour, and that's bothering me. Now, I'm okay with the fact that this is very, very busy and a little bit messy, It's going to be cut into strips and it's a storage piece at the end of the day. And I do think that helps it. Do I love it? No. Do I hate it? No, I don't hate it. I think when I come back to look at this later, maybe I'll really love this. And here we are back. Everything is clean. Pity I'm not totally clean, but everything else is clean. Let's take a look at what we produced in this probably about 45 to 50 minutes, I should imagine. I can't remember. I'm judging by the last one. In my videos, what I normally do when I edit is I just take out any sections that are maybe cleaning or stuff that you don't really need to see. So know that if you see transitions or fade in, fade out, it's where I've taken out where I was maybe cleaning the plate or using up the paints on bits of paper or stuff like that. So there you go. Right, so this is the one that I was hesitant about. And actually, you know what? Now I look at it, it's busy as all get out. But you know what? I quite like it. I think when I cut this into strips, it's going to look very, very different. And I need to remember, this is purely for my stencil storage. So I don't mind that at all. This one, always liked this sort of look. I was very tempted to put some gold into this, or maybe some copper. Copper would have been really nice on this, actually. However, I stopped where I stopped because I think it was enough for what it was. Again, I like the fact, well, it depends on which way I cut it, to be honest. This one, again, slightly busy, but I like the drama of it. Interesting. Really like this one. For someone who doesn't overly like purple, I think I did okay on this one. And I think it was the gold that made it. It just needed that something, and it just happenstance was I had gold on the brayer, and that's what it needed. This one, really quite like this, actually. This is not something I would normally do. I would not normally put fern green with orange, with turquoise, black and white. That's an interesting combination for me. Don't know that it's my favourite, but I certainly don't hate it. And then this one is funny because the colours are the same colours, but I like this one better. And I think it's because the orange in this one is really quite dominant, whereas the orange in here is just an accent piece. So guys, I hope you enjoyed that. That was just, I won't need to make more of those because that will give me more than enough to finish on my storage stuff. So my next video, give me a couple of days as always. I've got a new project which I've been talking to someone because I want to get the permission to not replicate it, but do a video in the same style as, and they've come back and said, yes, I just need to make sure I've got all of my stuff ready. It'll be one for my journal makers, this one. But there's always something you can learn anything I do. So you know what, guys? I'm Ceri the Crafter. That's Ceri the Crafter. Until next time, goodbye now.